Hey everyone, welcome back to Beekeeping with Natalie, or welcome to if you are new. Before we get started, I want to mention something. We're trying out a new camera today. We're actually trying like a camera, which we've never done. If you didn't know, you might have noticed on the quality, but all of our videos are actually filmed on just an iPhone, and it seems to work pretty well, but we actually upgraded recently, so if something happens in the middle of the video, it's because we don't know how to use it. A lot of people think because I'm young, 16-year-old girl, I should know how to use all these electronics, but really, I have no idea. So anyways, we're going to talk about pulling honey today, which is not the most exciting topic for me because there's a lot of opinions on it, but that's anything in beekeeping. But what I really want to talk about today, before we get started here, is a lot of people debate on when do you know when to pull your honey. And for me, I just go off of the moisture content. Now, if you're a beekeeper and you're looking to pull honey or you're wanting to do a pretty big crop, one of the things that I would really recommend getting into and checking out is a refractometer. So this is what that looks like. It comes in a little box. I believe we got ours off of Amazon. This is what it looks like. I have made many videos on it before, but we're going to do it again. So basically this is going to, oh, there's honey in there that I didn't clean it from yesterday. It's my bad. Anyway, I'm going to clean this off, but basically, a lot of people think you can only pull your honey when it's capped, and some people say that's not true. Now, I'm not going to say that this is for sure, like 100%, but here in Missouri, you can pull honey when it's not capped if the moisture content on it is right. So basically, when you look through this little thing right here, it basically shows a little blue line and then a bunch of numbers. If that blue line is right in between 18 or 17, that's perfect honey. That's what I'll pull. That's what it's been the last few days. Now it is May, or it's not May anymore. It's actually June 2nd. So it's a little early for us to be pulling honey, which I know Cayman actually just talked about how his honey flow is basically over. So it just shows the difference in each state. Now, it's pretty early for us to be pulling right now, but the honey's actually looks pretty good to me. So let's check out these supers, see what they're looking like. Now, one of the reasons that we're pulling honey is because we need it. Now, typically I would like to wait till they're like capped, full, ready to go. But right now we really need the honey for some of the stores that we're in, so that's why we're pulling it so early. But also, one of the things you'll notice on this hive, it is a single brood, which can be difficult to pull honey, and this is the one reasons that I don't like single brood, because it makes it a lot harder to pull honey. One of those things is, you'll see they only have one brood box, but then they have 4 supers. 2 of these are shallows that are comb, which I'll talk about here in a second. But they have 4 supers, which is giving them a lot of extra space. But because today I'm going to go through and pull most of these, they're going to have nowhere to go because they only have that one brood box, but they've built up so much to where they're full in all of these supers. So they basically get to the point where they have nowhere to go anymore. So they end up all on the outside of the boxes. They're actually doing that in the front here, but they'll end up all on the outside of here, which makes it so hard to pull honey because then you go to grab the handle and there's just bees everywhere. So a lot of times I'll use a brush and I'll just brush them off or something like that. But one of the things you can do that I just don't enjoy it because there's a lot of lifting involved, you can take all of the supers off that you want to pull. So let's say I'm taking these 3 off. I'll take them off and then I'll put 2 extra supers, empty supers, on top of it, and then put these 3 on top of those 2. Now, not only does it make it really, really tall, but it's also a lot of lifting, and you have to lift it almost over your head, which is a little difficult, but that makes sure that there's plenty of room for them to go, and it makes it a little bit easier for you to pull honey. With that being said, let's go ahead and get started here. Now, I don't think I'm going to pull, I might pull this super just for like an example, but I think I'm going to actually get down to maybe this one here. But let's pull this one off and see what this comb is looking like. I actually filmed a video, this is actually really heavy. I filmed a video on comb a while ago on this exact hive, I think it was, or it might have been on a different kind of video, but it was on this hive. Let's see if I can maybe pull this super off. Okay, there we go. And then they're not doing like an amazing job on comb this year. It's just been an interesting year overall, but let's pull some frames out and see how it's looking. But they had started, might actually be this one here that I had put on, but they had started working it pretty good, so we went ahead and added an extra comb. Now, if you don't know, this is basically, I filmed a video on how we make the frames and like set up the supers for these. And then we put these on the Hive and oh, well, they've made a mess actually. Let's pull out a different frame here. They'll actually build it out completely from scratch. Like there's nothing really that they're starting on except a tiny little piece of wax. That way, yeah, they've made a little bit of a mess here. That's okay, I'll just eat it afterwards. So they're kind of starting to build it out a little bit. Now it's a little funky, and I have a feeling this year is just not going to be a best year for comb, which really sucks because it does sell really well, but the bees do whatever they feel like they want to do. Anyways, that's how our comb supers are going this year. But let's actually get to pulling honey. Now I'm going to show you what I'm talking about with this uncapped situation. So I'm going to put this back on the Hive if I can. And then I'm going to pull a frame out here. I'm going to pull the super off anyway, so I'm not going to get it perfect, but let's pull a frame out here and show you kind of what I'm talking about with the whole uncapped. Okay, so this isn't even half capped. I mean, it's getting close, but only here is capped and then the rest of it isn't. Now I'm going to test it to show you that if the moisture on it is good, then I'll go ahead and pull it. It also makes extraction a lot easier because you don't have all these frames you have to uncap. So let's test it really quick here. I usually like to do this on a few of them. Now, a lot of times if you check one or two of the supers that have maybe 3 supers on there and they look good, I don't usually check the third one because what's going to happen anyways is we're going to go and put them into our dehumidifier room and basically it'll pull that moisture content out. If there is some in there, we have a dehumidifier in there. Anyways, let's test it, make sure it's good. So here's my refractometer. I'm going to take from the uncapped spot. Now, you're not going to be able to see it, so you're going to have to just take my word for it, but I put a pretty good amount of honey on there. Then you flip the lid on, and you got to look through it like in the sunlight. Okay, so it's right at 19 actually, which some people would say is a little, not quite where they want it. They want it to be at 18 or 17, but because we're going to have it in a dehumidifier room, it's going to take a little bit of that out and get it to the perfect level we want. We also have some honey right now that's pretty dry. It's probably about like 17, maybe close to 16. So when these get mixed together, that level is going to be perfect where we want it. So usually after we've extracted everything, I like to test some of the buckets too to make sure that it's where it should be. Anyways, I'm gonna get that off my finger and then I'll clean that up, but let's talk about how we get the bees out of the super. Now this is probably kind of hate this part of beekeeping because it can be difficult. These bees are pretty stubborn and they don't want to get out of their super, which I understand. But anyways, sometimes a lot of people use like a cloth or whatever you want to call this. We actually pulled this off of our fume boards from last year. I've never actually tried a real like nice fume board because I've never really needed it and I haven't seen them to work like amazing. Some people love them, but they don't work super great for us. Anyways, we have used these before. Now these work good when it's really hot outside too, because if you spray this, put it on top of your hive, the sun is going to heat this up and it's going to make it work a lot better too. So you can use these if you want to. Now I talked about this one of my last videos and a lot of people were actually surprised that we use these, but I just use paper towels 90% of the time because they just work really good and they're cheap. Now I know fume boards can be pretty expensive, but I do think in the long run a fume board is probably saving you money just because paper towels can get expensive and you're going to go through quite a lot. But I can usually get 3 to 4 or maybe more uses off of these, like each hive. You can probably get more out of it, but they start to fall apart a little bit, so I use more. Anyway, what this looks like is I've just got this spray bottle. We buy Be Quick by the gallon, and then we just put it into the spray bottle here. I don't know where you can get Be Quick. I'm pretty sure you can get it anywhere, honestly. But I like it. There's some other stuff out there that people like to use, but the smell on this is a lot better. It smells like cherries, and if you don't know, bees actually hate the smell of cherries. I'll see if you can kind of hear it here, I'll put my mic up to it, but they're going to start fanning almost immediately because of the smell. And there they go. So I spray the bottom side of it, and then I spray the top a little bit. I do 4 paper towels on it, so I do 2 like this and then another 2 up here. Now I like to give them a little bit of room. I'm not going to cover the whole thing here up top, because when there's a little bit of room for them right here, they actually go out of that. I mean, you can see these bees are coming out. So if you have it fully covered, they actually kind of get stuck in there and they don't know where to go. I mean, you can see they're coming out now. So if you give them a little bit of room, another way to do it too is to do your boxes like kind of messed up, so you have them like this. That way they go out of these spots too. So they're doing that right now also. Now this time of the year is actually pretty fun though, because they're really nice because we have a really good flow going on. Now if there was a lot of robbing going on and there wasn't a flow, they would be pretty mean right now, but they're actually pretty happy because they have food. So they're just flying out of here, and then you'll have a lot of bees flying everywhere, but a lot of times they'll start to go down. But I mean, you can see right here too, there's a little hole in our box. So they're coming out of it right here also. So usually what I do is I leave this on there for, I don't know how long. I usually go and start another hive, and then I come back to this hive and it's usually done and ready to go. So I'll pull it off and then I'll show you what we do next. But we're going to give them a second here just to get all the way out of the super, but it just shows you how well this stuff works. And that if you don't want to, if maybe it's your first year and you don't want to go and buy all this stuff, using paper towels is always really nice and it just works. So I'll give them a minute to get out of there. I usually just kind of lift it up to see if they're still in there. It's a little tall, I can't really see it. I usually just stand on this, but because I'm filming a video, I was not going to do that, but it's okay. Okay, so they're mostly out of there. So I'm going to show you what this looks like now. I know some people that talk about this, and they'll actually take one of those bee brushes and they'll brush each frame. Now I have done that before actually, because I had one hive that they just wouldn't get out of the super. So I had to go through, pull each frame out and brush them, but after a while you get tired of doing that. So I'm going to show you what we do next. Now, can't judge me, and I promise it doesn't harm the bees. I know my last few videos have looked a little suspicious, especially with Corey Stevens, but you can blame that guy. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this over to, maybe, we're going to walk over here. And I flip it up on its side like this. Now there's not too many bees in here, which is good, but I want to try and get all of them out there as many as I can. So we use a little leaf blower here. Now, if you're gonna do this, don't use a gas one or anything other than battery typically, because you don't want to get any type of gas or oil or whatever it is into this honey here. So we're just using a battery operated one by DeWalt. And you just blow them out of there. And it's pretty fun, so, but they're perfectly fine. Typically, a lot of times I'll just see them get blown out, and then immediately once they're out there, they'll just fly off. So doesn't kill any of the bees. And then what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to put it on a lid that's closed in, because even though it's not typically robbing season, they're still going to try and get into that super. So I like to use a lid that doesn't have any kind of holes in it, like bucket feeding. And you just place it onto that lid to where there's no gaps or anything, so they can't get in there. And then this one is a bucket lid, but it's got a plug in it. So then we'll just put it on top of here, and then it's ready to go. So as I pull supers, I'll just pull off this lid, put a new one on, and then we'll just stack them to as tall as we can get before they fall off. And that's pretty much it. So that's how we pull our honey. We've been doing it like this for years now, and it just seems to work really well. So this will go down to our dehumidifier room. It'll stay in there until we can use it. That's one of the benefits about having a room that you can put them in and store them there for a while. they can be in there until you can extract it. Like we were supposed to extract honey today, but we're just not gonna be able to get to it. So we're gonna do that tomorrow because they're in that room and they're good to go. Anyway, there's a lot of talking in that. I think that's it. I'm gonna go through and check that hive again and see if that bottom super is ready to be pulled. I'll pull that one the exact same system as I just did. But I think that's it. So thanks for watching today's video. Follow along for more bee adventures and be here next time on Beekeeping with Natalie.